Broadcasting live from the restless fortress on the plain of Eldraine. That kind of rhymes. It's weird. It's TapTapConcede. Hey, everybody. Welcome to TapTapConcede. This week on the show, it's me. I'm James. And over there, it's Nelson.
Hi, I'm Nelson.
And then one over from that, it's a sleepy Ben.
I'm a sleepy Ben.
I'm a sleepy Ben. And we are all back from MagicCon Barcelona, like within 24 hours of us getting back. It's 1:30 on Tuesday. I got back last night. My plane landed at 9. What about you two?
I think so. Our plane landed around like 10:40 p.m.
Yep.
So I probably stepped into my place around like 11:15ish or so. Yeah.
Got home before 11:30. Yeah.
Do you get any treats on the way home? I got Wendy's.
No, I was not. We were on a mission to just
get home,
not like in motion.
Yeah. That's fair.
My mind, I just kept picturing my shower.
Yeah.
Like after I got off the last plane, I was just like, "That's the next goal. I gotta get Ben home, and then we gotta get me to my shower." Yeah,
I did not shower. I just.
Oh yeah, I didn't
just
shower.
Straight.
Just done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
90-degree angle into bed.
I kissed my dog, and then my partner. Priorities.
Priorities. Yeah.
And then I went to bed.
Nice. So yeah, if you haven't guessed, today we are going to be talking about all things MagicCon Barcelona. We're going to talk about our trip and our time in Barcelona, and then we'll also talk about the con and our experiences there. But first, this show is brought to you by the fine folks over at cardkingdom.com/LRR. That little /LRR, it will apply the affiliate code. It lets them know that we sent you, which is all we need in this world is for Card Kingdom to know that we're sending people their way. So you're buying things, so they'll keep giving us money to do things like this. And we really appreciate it. And hey, at the end of your order, if you type loading ready run sent me button, please, I'm just checking, and it looks like the button is still, I think I am just Dan here. However, I will note that it looks like that's been live for almost a month now, which is generally how long our buttons last. So if you want one, be sure to get your order in as soon as possible. Again, cardkingdom.com/LRR. Thank you, Card Kingdom. We really appreciate it. And of course, everything that we do is brought to you by you over at the Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Without you, we wouldn't be able to keep the lights on. It's way easier for me to do that joke here because I just have the button. Yeah. I can't do that joke at the office. You break things if you just turn all the lights off.
Yeah, just
So, head over to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun and support us for, I think, as low as $1 a month. It makes a difference. If 100 of you go give us $1 a month, that's $100 a month. That's a lot. That's a good amount of money. We'd really appreciate it. So, yeah, go check it out. All right, let's talk about MagicCon Barcelona. This is the third MagicCon this year. And in fact, I think we've been to all of them, right? This group, you two have been to Minneapolis and Philly?
Yes, for the ones this year, yeah. So since the MagicCon rebranding, which was last year's Vegas.
Yeah, which I was at.
That I haven't been.
Yeah. Nelson, were you at Minnie and Philly?
I was only at Minnie. I didn't go to Philly.
Right, you weren't at Philly. That's right. Okay, but regardless, we all have a couple of these under our belts already, so I think we'll have a little bit to say later in the show about the actual con experience as we enjoyed it. But first, I figured we could talk a little bit about our time in Barcelona and our trips there, and I guess I'll kick us off. I left on the Monday, and my flights were pretty legit. I flew from here to Montreal and then Montreal to Barcelona. And got in at like 9 a.m. Monday morning and immediately found friends and then immediately went to the hotel to find more people to keep me awake until later that evening because this is my first time in Europe, actually. And it was the first time that I was ever going to have to deal with an enormous time change. The most I've ever had to do is 3 hours going to the East Coast. And that was the thing that I was like the most scared of. I wasn't scared, but I was like, oh man, I really hope this doesn't like knock me on my ass for like 3 days or whatever. Like that would suck to go all the way there and just get completely wrecked by jet lag. But kind of wasn't an issue at all, which was amazing. I stayed up until like 11 o'clock on that Monday night. I went to sleep. I got up at like the normal time I wake up in the morning at like 7 a.m. and I felt great. And I was like, cool, I'll take it, which was super fun. And then you two arrived Wednesday morning?
Yeah. So we left for the airport at about 5 a.m. our time-ish, kind of like moving in that direction.
Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning.
Yes.
We got up at 5. I think like 10 to 6 or something. The cab got to my house.
Our flight was at, I want to say, like 7:50 or so a.m. on the Tuesday, and then we went from Victoria to Vancouver, Toronto, Barcelona. And we arrived Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Yep.
So you just, there's for those who don't know, it's a 9-hour time difference. For us
from the West Coast to Spain. It's a big one.
So our main goal getting in was literally just to try and stay awake.
Yep.
As I think it was with most people. I made the terrible. So we got in at the same time as our good friend Tappy Toe Claws got in. We all we caught a cab together and got in customs. And she made it her personal goal to keep me awake because I'm a big sleepy baby. And that meant that we just drank for hours. Like we went and like she is a drinker.
Yeah.
And I ended up going for dinner with a couple of folks, and I almost fell asleep at dinner. like trick from Watsy had to keep like flicking me to wake me up. Just barely made it. But then after that, it was great. Like I felt it just took one day essentially to acclimatize, and it felt like we were all on it.
How did you do, Nelly?
Serge and I, so same flights, obviously. Tappy going through this 1.5 hour long customs line because like multiple big jets from America had just landed at the same time as ours. Like, the one Tappy was on, and then we had like Beej from production, not our Beej, but like watching the Pro Tour Beej, like putting together the video show, was on one of them too. So there was just like a lot of people entering Barcelona at the same time as us, and it was an 1.5 hour to wait to get to customs. So it was great that Tappy was there. But Serge and I were trying to have dinner with Graham and Kathleen, but they got goozled by the metro. So then we were like, well, I don't know when we're going to get there. So then it was just Serge and I for dinner. And so we got through it super quick. And then I managed to get to sleep at like 8 or 8:30 or something. And then of course woke up at 8:30 a.m. And I mean, 8:30, like it's back home. It's 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and I've been awake since the previous day at 5. So like, that was a big day. I'm not like disappointed with myself, but I just wish I had been up till 10. If I'd been up till 10, then maybe I can wake up at 6 a.m. or something.
I was on the opposite. Like I didn't fall asleep till like 1.
Oh, really? You stayed up even later after dinner? Okay, I didn't realize.
Dinner lasted till about 11, and then we had to cab back, right?
Right. Okay. Right. So when we say dinner too, like we did as soon as we got there, we had to basically like get into the like Spanish style of like, you don't eat until like 8 at the earliest generally.
Yeah.
And then like dinner might go, like we had several dinners the night while we were there that started at like 11 p.m. or something, ended at like 12:30 or 1 or whatever. And that was just, and then it'd be like, oh, do you want to do something? Maybe not. Or
I gotta
one
say
more game of Commander,
Yeah. Like, that's kind of my favorite part about at least that I got to experience about Spanish culture there was like the complete way it just messed up with Serge's coffee plans. It is such a sleep in kind of vibe when it comes to everything like opening and whatnot. Like everything is later, like as you were saying, like most people aren't going to start having dinner until like 7 at like the earliest kind of a thing. Which means everything sort of is like pushed back. And so I mean, I'm sure we've talked about it on several different podcasts where we've talked about going to conventions, but Serge is like the king of waking up early and going out and finding coffee early in the morning. And I don't think there was a morning where he successfully accomplished that in an easy fashion this week, because every one of them, like, he would start getting going at like 7 or whatever, and most places don't even open until like 8:30 at the earliest.
So, like coffee shops not open until 9:30 or 10. It's like unheard of here. Like by 10 a.m. most people are kind of done with drinking coffee for the day, I feel like in North America.
Yeah. But this was so my vibe of just like everybody can sleep in a little bit and life begins at noon.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind it. It was pretty good. So we were staying at the Renaissance Hotel. I think that was what it was called.
Renaissance Fira or whatever.
Renaissance Fira Hotel or something like that. So we were in the sort of the Fira district, I think is what we figured out. Fira is event. So we were in the event district because obviously the convention center was right there as well. So we were in the hotel that WotC was in because we were there for guests of WotC. And it was a pretty cool hotel. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
The rooms themselves were very white.
Yeah.
Or at least my room was. It was kind of
completely white.
Yep.
So without sounding like insensitive to the concept of it, but like I walked in and the first thing I got was like I'm at like a spa rehab center. Everything is very like clean and white. Like everything in the room was white.
Yeah.
And that threw me off big time. But my favorite part about the rooms was so when we got in, like I said, we took a cab with Tappy. Our rooms were ready to go. Hers were not. So all of us simultaneously were like, well, let's go get food. But first, we all want to shower because we've just been flying for like 16 hours.
Yeah.
And I have never been to Europe, much like James. And I had no idea about this like very customary thing that seems to happen more like on like east of us, which is your room key goes in like a little thingy beside the door, and that turns on like the electrical.
Yeah.
For the thing. So me and Taffy were just like, because she was dropping her stuff off and was just going to take a shower in my thing. We looked around for like 20 minutes trying to figure out how to do it, and then we couldn't. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just go for a bit. And she just took a shower in the dark, like pitch black.
Yeah, I didn't have to kick anyone out of my room so I could do it, but I also just took a shower in the dark because I spent the same 20 minutes trying to figure everything out, and I couldn't get the blinds to come down or turn the lights on.
I definitely knew about the card in the slot by the door, but it was definitely a thing that I always forgot about. Like at least once a day when I got to my room, I wouldn't put the card in the slot, and I'd do stuff for a few minutes, and then I'd go to turn on a light or plug in my phone or whatever, and none of it worked. And I was like, right, I have to take the card and put it in here. And so that was a fun experience. And the hotel was fine. Like, you know, in overall, fine lobby, rooms were totally serviceable. The very nice part about our hotel, though, was up on the roof. Which was this gorgeous rooftop bar and pool. And this was, I think, a 26-story building. And we were like southwest of town, I believe. So we had an just gorgeous 360-degree view of the city. Like possibly just, I would think, one of the best views of the city that exists in the city. And so a lot of time was spent up there.
Yeah.
I'd like to see Graham's pictures of the amusement park because I believe that either Graham or Kathleen took Penelope on one of the mornings to go check that out. And that was on a higher hill above town than where we were. So probably that's a pretty good view too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm just thinking like building wise in town, like right in town, the kind of view that you can get. But the pool was amazing. The bar drinks were great. The sangrias were huge.
Yes.
And expensive.
Yes. so I didn't want to bring a credit card on this trip because I had heard a lot about like pickpocketing and stuff being like a thing in Barcelona. So I got one of those like travel MasterCards, which I know James did as well.
Yep.
But I wasn't able to use it for my room, like the card that you put on your room or whatever. So I had it on Serge's card. And afterwards, when I went to go like settle up and pay with like what the things were and whatnot, I think it was like $160 worth of like alcohol.
$160 or euros?
160 euros.
But it was like 16 euros for one sangria.
It was it was a 15 euro sangria.
And that's less than 2 sangrias a day while we're there. Like that's not even like that's not too much.
I definitely didn't like turn up every day or anything like that. But it definitely was like big vacation vibes for sure.
Yeah.
But on that topic, like that was probably one of the things that goozled me the most on this trip is like looking at menus and being like, this burger's $13. What a steal. And then you convert that to Canadian in your mind. I know, right, Remy? You convert that to Canadian in your mind. I know, it's a sham.
I want a $13 burger, Dad.
Right?
Come on.
Yeah, and that's like $18 or something like that for us. Like, because the Canadian conversion, I think, is something like 0.6.
Yeah,
to the dollar or whatever. Like when I went and got that travel card and was like loading it up, the person, the postal worker was like, how much do you want to put on there? And I was like, how much is 500 euros in Canadian? He was like $860.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Sure, man.
Neat. Love that for us.
Yeah, very cool.
So that was the flights, the hotels. We had a few extra days there as well. What was one of your highlights? Give me a highlight before we actually move on to the convention itself.
Oh,
what do you got?
I mean, we did a lot of really, really cool things.
We should talk about the church, I guess.
Yeah,
we found church.
Religion.
Big church.
Big church.
We're never going to be invited back.
Yeah, Barcelona is going to have us on a blacklist. It's like, what do you mean, big church?
Big church. Yeah.
You're not allowed to say it. Yeah.
So we went James went at a different time, but the two, Nelson and I, went at the same time to the Sagrada Familia. Is that it?
Sagrada Familia. Probably there's a correct accent,
which is literally translated to big church.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like when you go to like wonders or UNESCO heritage sites and stuff like that, like I am not like an architecture guy, like I'll look at a building and go like, that's neat, right? And so when I saw the outside, I was like, this is very cool. My frame of reference for this is like playing a lot of Civ, and I think I've built this thing a couple of times.
Yeah.
In that. But then when you walk in, it is mind blowing. Like it's so tall. Like my jaw genuinely dropped. Like it was actually amazing in there.
Nelly,
it's real big. My favorite.
It's a big church.
It's bigger than you think it's going to be, and it's all built out of stone, so it is very impressive. Like there's a couple parts about the Sagrada Familia story that I really like. One is that it's still under construction. If you didn't already know, they're hoping to finish it this decade, which is sweet.
I feel like they say that every decade. Though,
yeah, maybe.
Like next decade, they're going to be like, "Don't worry, next decade."
There's some parts of it that they haven't started building.
Yeah,
and like you can't even plan to finish a condo around here.
When we went up, they were still working on it. Like you could just watch the workers build stuff.
That's right. Yeah, you could see like scaffolding, and while you were like staring up at the huge arches, you could hear the machinery. On the other side of the stone ceiling, which apparently only got finished in 2010. So yeah, the fact that it's still under construction has been for however many generations.
160 years.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm curious, like how many workers and like what the careers were of some, like, there's probably several, like, I don't even know what the names are for all the trades, but like, the foreman or the master carpenters or master stonemasons or whatever it is, like the people who are very invested, and how many of them spent like basically their whole life's work to get 10% of this building done with their team. That's really interesting to me. And then the other one is the stained glass. So you'll notice immediately when you walk into the Sagrada that like the stained glass is just like incredibly beautiful. We went on a day, I think it was overcast, so we didn't even have like maximum sunlight, but the like array of colors inside the room is like pretty breathtaking. And the other thing that I was really impressed by was as I got close enough to them to like really examine the panes, there's some writing on some of them. And so like it's a church, obviously, like it's scripture, and there's various
Big
like
church
odes. Yeah, exactly. Celebrations of the life of Jesus and biblical stories and biblical characters, which I'm not like super into, but the panes themselves were all just like very carefully, like artistically cut panels of color. They weren't, I was expecting to see, because a lot of stained glass in churches is going to be like images, like comic book panels, basically like single panes describing the various biblical stories. But instead of that, it's just these huge walls of color. And so I was just really impressed and touched by that.
I think my favorite part about that stained glass was like waiting for the beams of light to cascade through it and really illuminate the area, and then seeing the people flock to in front of it to start taking their pictures and like do TikToks and stuff like that. And then the clouds would come in and they'd kind of slowly file away, and then the sun would come back and they'd flock right back and start, I don't know, doing the nay or whatever the shit the kid, people do on it.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I took pictures of them doing that. That
nice.
Was...
I saw a lot of the pose where there's like one leg out, right? Like I saw a lot of people being like, half squat. That was for some reason that's like the content that everyone was making that day.
I want to give a shout out though to Penelope because Graham and Kathleen brought her on this trip, and we were with her, and there's like you can kind of see down into like the crypt area of it, and she was like, "What's down there?" And I was like, "Actually, the person who made this, who like designed this, is down there, but he never quite finished it." And she was just like, "Why?" And I was like, "I don't actually know how he died. I just know like that this was like one of the the last sort of things that he ever really got to work on." And she was like, "You should have finished it faster." And I was like, "Yeah, man, probably like
get a better work ethic.
Finish it before you die." Like,
yeah, man.
Boom, roasted, Gowdy.
Get wrecked. Yeah, that place was pretty cool. I managed to get there on Sunday, and I agree. You walk in and you're just like, oh my God. It was it was unbelievable. I would definitely go back there in a heartbeat. I think another place that we all went was the market. Was that the first day you were there? Was that the second day?
Right after we got out of the dark shower.
That's where we went straight to after you all got in. This gorgeous outdoor market with just rows and rows of food and meats and fruits and seafood, and it was just unreal. Just being able to kind of like jump from stall to stall and like grab a cone of meat and cheese or a delicious fruit juice for like €2, or I think I had something called a potato bomb, which was delicious. That place was super cool. I really liked that place.
I had a long, sharp skewer with
the
potato that's been French fried, but in like a spiral.
Yeah, that thing was cool.
At like amusement parks and
stuff.
Okay, I'd never seen it before, but I was I gotta try that.
They're super tasty. Yeah.
It was,
I think like having had the ones that you get at like North American carnivals or whatever, and that was much better. Like that was a much more tasty version. But like what I appreciated is we finally had the sense to split, because having 10 people all eat at the same time is impossible.
Yep.
And so 5 of us just like sat down at essentially like a little cantina inside of the market. And we just started ordering like a ton of food. So it was myself, Nelson, Serge, Krim, the Asian Avenger, and Tappy. And we just ordered so much food and started eating it. And Krim really wanted crab.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, yeah, so I'll get the crab with Louisiana sauce. And the guy was like, okay, this crab. And he like pulls out like a living crab, just like that was there at the bar. And he's like, this is the one you'll eat. And Krim was like, yeah, sure, okay.
Nice to meet you, crab.
Yeah. And then he puts it back, and me and Krim are looking at each other. I'm like, I don't want to eat this crab anymore. Like, and I turned to Nelson, and I'm like, Nelson, you win this round. Like, I get it, man. Like, vegans, but. He still ended up bringing it, and it wasn't that crab. And I was like, cool, okay, yeah, Carl is safe. I don't know, Gary's the one who's dead here, and Gary doesn't. Gary. Out of sight, out of mind. I didn't meet Gary, so I'm cool eating him.
It's like when trying to bridge language barriers goes wrong.
Yeah, you'll eat this one. And we're like, no, I don't want to see him.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, so that place was pretty cool. Managed to hit up a couple cool coffee shops because Serge was there, and that's what he do. He does all of his research beforehand, and we go coffee hunting. I'm trying to think
I want to talk about Serge's research for a second, actually.
Yeah.
Because he did do all of his research. There was like 8 or 9 places in Barcelona he was interested in. But then when we got there, he meets up, or maybe he was texting with him before, David Buer, who owns Coral Sword. And so David's there, who's also like a big coffee shop owner. And so then they cross-referenced, and Serge like upgraded. It was like everything that David had also been into.
Yeah.
Serge is like, okay, now these 5 spots are like going on my Google Maps.
Yeah.
And that's going to be my checklist. So I thought that was like really cool, and got to go along for some of these adventures where it was like, oh, only the peak of like coffee shops by all of our team. Those are the ones that we're going to hit, you know.
Nice.
I was very excited that some of these coffee shops actually had air conditioning, because I don't know what it like. So
not all of them.
I mean, obviously we're at some point going to mention that it was freaking hot. Like it was so hot this weekend.
The entire week we were there, it was very warm, very humid.
But a lot of the times whenever I find these like fancy coffee shops, I don't know how they do it. They just are like constantly warm all the time inside of them, I find, wherever I go. But these ones were nicely air conditioned, which was great. Definitely helped me drink hot beverages on what was already a like blisteringly hot summertime.
Yeah.
And one of them was handing out like disposable kind of cardboard fans.
Oh yeah, that said "sweating sucks."
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I brought mine home.
Awesome.
I don't have it handy, but like, we ended up using those a fair bit.
Yes.
So that was pretty great.
I don't know why I didn't think about it, because I have so many of these like little clacky fans that I should have just brought. Like, would have been, I think, a game changer in a lot of ways. But I mean, on the air conditioning note, like. I think actually one of the highlights for me was the metro system in Barcelona.
Yes, Barcelona's metro system is impressive as hell.
Mm-hmm. Easy to understand.
I think I only heard, easy to understand, extremely efficient. I think Serge and Kathleen ran into an issue one morning where they got stuck on a train for about 20 or 25 minutes when it didn't move, and it's just like, that's going to happen. It's a massive transit system. There's going to be delays sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But like, that was the only time I heard about anybody having a problem. I used it like the first 3 days I was there and the final day we were there. And it was amazing.
To its credit, Serge and I missed a train for one of our coffee adventures. I think this is while you were at the Sagrada, James, where we went to the wrong side of the platform, because Serge had already taken the metro so many times by this point that he just knew which platform you grabbed to head east from like our hotel.
Yeah.
But because the train system is like so well, because it serves the city so well, there was actually an alternate route, and that's what Google Maps was saying. But Serge was just like, this is the way we go. But it turns out we could have taken a different train west that curls around and gets to a different stop where we transfer, and it gets you like at your location 2 minutes faster just at these times of day.
Yeah.
So that
so
was
your only issue is when your only issue is when Serge got cocky, is what you're saying.
As he does. Yeah.
As he do.
That's a way to put it.
In general, Barcelona was just it was fabulous. Like, definitely one of the coolest places I've gone to for an event. Yeah.
And everyone spoke English. Sorry, I should say that before I forget too. I was like a little nervous. I tried to learn a bit of Spanish, and then just before we left, it was like, oh, actually, if you're gonna bother, you should learn Catalan. And I'm like, I've never even heard of Catalan. Sorry. And then when I got there, it was like, absolutely everybody spoke English. So we were spoiled. Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? Is like, I talked to Nelly a little bit about this, but like, one, it bugged me that I didn't know a lot of the language, and it was like I forced it, like it was, people almost felt forced to have to communicate with me in English, kind of a thing. But I understand that like in other parts of the world, English is kind of a more integral part of the education system and stuff. Whereas like, French, for example, in Canada is like kind of like you do have to take it, but it's not like, you don't have to really retain. I think
we don't use it in our day-to-day lives as adults as much, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But the thing is, anytime I interacted with somebody who would either, have to take my money or was like a security guard or something like that, and they said hola, and I responded with hola, they started speaking Spanish at me. And anytime they said hola and I said hello, they spoke English at me.
Yep.
So it was kind of one of those things where straight up, I just stopped saying hola. I would say gracias, like at the end of like a meal or something like that. And that's how the interact. But it was like, to me, that was the indicator that I'm like, I'm not going to be able to understand you if you just speak pure Spanish or Catalan at me.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That seems like a fairly good societal norm. It's just like, if you're in a foreign country and you don't know the language that well, when they say hello to you in their native language and you say hello back in just English, it's an indicator that please, if you can, speak in English to me.
Mhm.
Maybe not the worst idea. It did make me, because this is the first time that I've traveled overseas, and it was the first time I've been at a Magic event where I heard so many different languages. It was just unreal and amazing. And I'm just like, how do we not have universal translators yet? Like, how have we not reached the point where I can put something in my ear and it just translates the person that I'm talking to? Because that seems like it would be very useful. I mean, surely people are trying to develop this, right?
Well, we've got it. Like that's a standard Google feature now, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Like you can just like have somebody talk into it, and then it'll robo voice it back in whatever language. So like there's that. But I agree. How haven't we got to like Star Trek or like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Like, why am I not sticking a fish in my brain? And now I just know. Yeah, kind of a thing. Yeah.
I agree. Let's all stick fish in our ears.
Kudos to you, Ben, though, because it meant you were saying "hola" like close enough in the accent, like you know what I mean? Like the service people you were talking to, like the the baristas or the bartenders or whatever, like they were hearing you say "hola" and they weren't immediately like, that is an American trying to say hello.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. They were just like, oh, so good for you.
On that note, though, I will say the amount of times that I just like, I didn't want to correct necessarily, but I just sort of kind of slyly slid in when people were like, yeah, like in the United States, like in the United States. And I was like, well, in Canada, like to very much imply like, no, I do not live in the United States of America. I am a Canadian. Like,
I mean, the few times that it did come up where I was from, and I was with, because the majority of the people that we were there hanging out with are Americans. Mm-hmm. It was always fun when I did say that I was from Canada, and they would look excited about that fact. Yeah. Because when everybody else was from America, they just didn't give a crap about it. But then you're like, I'm actually from Canada. And they're like, oh, Canada. And I'm like, yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up our sort of like Barcelona experience. Mm-hmm. But we also went there for a convention.
Oh, yeah.
Which, to be honest, I think if I ever do something like this again, I will definitely, like, if for instance, let's just say for the sake of argument, next year's is in Spain again. Let's say it's in Madrid for whatever reason. It's the first city that came to my mind. I would still go there a day or two early to try to acclimatize myself, but I would definitely stay longer for the vacation portion of it, because I got in Monday morning, and Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I basically got to go full vacation mode. And when I got up Thursday morning to go to work, I was like, I don't wanna.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to work. I want to go back out and hang out with my friends and drink gigantic fishbowl margaritas by the pool and like explore, not spend my day at a convention center, specifically Thursday.
Yeah, your Thursday was tough, right?
I don't know if you know this, but I help out with Game Nights Live from time to time.
Yeah. Famous YouTuber James Turner.
Yeah. Do you?
So I was doing that again this time. Thursday is when they always do their tech rehearsal, and this one in particular was pretty rough. Because there were so few people in the event hall on Thursday, and because they had all the doors open because they were still moving lots of stuff in, it meant that there's no AC turned on Thursday. It was rough. We were in there from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. It was probably 30 degrees Celsius at all times in there. Everybody was dying. Everybody was drenched in sweat. Nobody was particularly thrilled about it. But we pushed through. We did the tech rehearsal. It was a ton of fun. I love hanging out with that group. But yeah, it was a pretty rough day. And if I'm being honest, the event hall never really got all that much cooler. I don't really know the specifics, so I don't think we need to get too deep in them. But my understanding is there are some energy regulations in the EU, or maybe specifically Spain. I'm not sure. It means that they can't just blast the AC to keep that thing at a very comfortable room temperature. I think I heard that it was set at about 26 or 27 degrees Celsius,
which is not air conditioned
for the whole weekend, like for when there were thousands of people in there playing Magic. So I didn't it wasn't so uncomfortable that I couldn't be there, but it was uncomfortable enough that it was definitely noticeable. And I imagine that was probably an issue for a lot of people. And it was probably also an issue I couldn't imagine being in that state and having to play at a very high competitive level, which obviously the Pro Tour was happening literally right in the same room.
Which
there
apparently
was
hotter than the main area too, according to the people that have spoken to.
Yeah, it was pretty pretty toasty over there.
Had that lighting array, like the Pro Tour had this big visual effects thing.
Well, you have all the electronics and all the lights, and you're absolutely going to get it pretty warm. And if obviously even in the main hall there was the big limited thing, so like it wasn't a big deal for us. We were just there to play fun Magic, casual games. It didn't really matter, if the heat was getting to you and you were a little uncomfortable and you misplayed for whatever reason. But in the high level events, I imagine that wasn't great. But yeah, like every MagicCon before this one, we were guests of the show. Wizards of the Coast pays us to come out. They pay us to be there. They pay us to be around and interact with the fans and everybody who's there. And so I will, again, I think we've prefaced this before in the past when we've talked about Philly and when we talked about Minneapolis. Our experiences at this con are without question biased opinions. They do not represent the average con goer. So if you're watching at home thinking, I wonder if I should go to Vegas in a few months, or I wonder if when these come back in the new year, I should make a trip out. Do not use this podcast as your litmus test. Go and brave the Reddit. I wouldn't highly recommend it, but it is where conversations happen. And to be fair, there was a phenomenal write-up on the subreddit the other day, criticizing, but also criticizing in a completely fair way and also giving so much useful and helpful feedback for specifically the VIP Black Lotus badges. This person did not at all feel like they got their money's worth. And that's kind of been the overall feeling of this badge for every show now. Yet I believe it's already sold out for Las Vegas. So we once again find ourselves in a position where it seems like nobody likes it, but everybody keeps buying it. So they'll probably not ever learn, which is awkward. But I do recommend going to check out that, talk to people who went to the event, see how they had fun. If you go to content creators to find out if these are events that you should go to, you're going to get super biased opinions. We're paid to be there. We get to see our friends who we only get to see like 4 or 5 times a year. Everybody's coming up to us and asking us for autographs and telling us how much they love you. It's a little, it's a different experience.
We get to skip the lines a lot of the time.
You get to skip the lines.
Really big deal.
Yeah. You didn't have to pay to get in the door. You didn't have to pay to play Magic.
Yeah.
So again, go out and sort of educate yourself on the people who did have to do all those things. And we'll get into some of that maybe a little bit later in the podcast. But what was your time at the actual con like? What did you guys do? What did we get up to? Friday was we had a signing stage on Friday and Saturday, which went extremely well. We had 90 minutes, 2 hours at a little booth. People lined up. They got a chance to meet us. It was the 3 of us, Serge and Graham, on Friday. And then on Saturday, it was the 3 of us, Serge and Kathleen. And that was a ton of fun. And then Game Nights Live was in the afternoon. But I think you two played an event after our signing block, ?
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, yeah. So I took part in a pre-release for Commander Masters. And it was sweet. Like, so, I mean, I think all the things that can be said about Commander Masters have been said really at this point. But the thing for me on it, so we did a mega draft, which is 6 packs instead of 3, and then you draft all those, then you just play as if it was a normal draft. You just get more stuff in your pool. Which was cool. One of the things that was, I don't know if it was just the table I was at, or maybe it's more of a thing in Europe, was a little bit of a difference to zone drafting, which was when you look, you grab your pack, you open it up, you grab your pick, you put it down, and then you put the pack beside you to whichever person that you're passing it to. And then you're not supposed to pick up the pack that you're getting passed until everyone's got a pack ready to like pick up. Like it's like kind of almost, yeah.
Like I mean, they basically run it like a top 8 draft.
Yes,
right.
yeah.
Like
only
a timed
it's
draft, but
you
you look
to
at each other.
Yeah. Instead of like a judge being like, okay, pick up your next one. So that might have just been the table that I was at. But that was kind of an interesting thing that also slowed it down a little bit. But I think the thing that this kind of leads into one of the two bugs that I had this weekend, one being the heat, the second being this, was that kind of out of their control, the companion app and their systems were not working this weekend. From my understanding, there was the systems that they've been using for MagicCon to set up events and do all that did not work properly in Europe. And so for that like pre-release event, it took us, I want to say, almost 3 hours to do our first game, like between the draft, the build, and then actually getting into game one. It took about 3 hours to get it, which was brutal, but it was still very, very fun. And yeah, I like Commander Masters a lot. I think that I still think that if you're drafting Commander, that Baldur's Gate still is like the king that has yet to be dethroned, even though that's a conspiracy. But yeah, that was really cool. And then another event that I did was I guess it was just that and the unknown event. So we can talk about not, because I imagine we should touch on the unknown event later in the show.
I'll take a turn. I played in that pre-release as well, and my table just did a regular zone draft, but it did take a bit too long. Like a couple things about that same event you were just talking about, Ben. The judge had announced, or at least I thought I heard, that we were going to get an hour to build our deck. And like, okay.
That's a long time.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that's too much time, especially for draft, right? But apparently the one on like Friday morning or something, or no, Friday they were doing the same event, and it was like people didn't have their decks ready in 20 minutes or something. And I get it. It's Commander. It is slower to build. It is harder to go through your various options with your legends, but an hour is too much time for deck building because it just like cuts into the rest of your day. And then they also could have just paired us in pod, so we didn't have to go to the companion app after we had done our draft. But instead, we were like told to look at our phones and find our seating for companion. And then that took forever for the judges to sort out because there was a whole bunch of tables. I don't know if when you found your seat, Ben, you were just like sitting down next to 3 other people, but I was in an area where there were like a bunch of pods with 2 people in them.
Yeah, well, they paired in the initial pairings, Serge, James, and I in the same pod.
Right. Yeah, that happened too.
So
right?
then they were like, so then a judge came over who knew who we were and was like, okay, we're gonna move y'all.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna spread you out and about. But it was at that moment that I realized that signing up the events themselves were gonna be a little touch and go on this one. But yeah.
Fair. So the night before that, that was Saturday. We did that pre-release. The night before that, after our signing thing, I actually shout out to Pleasant Kenobi here. I got in 1 round or 2 rounds maybe of Pleasant Kenobi's sort of fun party format, which I think he just calls Party Room. Big stack of like random Magic cards, kind of like you'd see like Judge's Tower or Type 4, and then also a few cards from other games or like art cards, which Kenobi just had the rules for, and then everybody just gets like 3 or 5 cards, and then you play mental magic rules where you can play any card face down as a land, and then it's just a big goofy like free for all after that. But like I killed someone with like I think it attacked Vince with a 3,000 Digimon that only cost 2 mana. So after that, that was just a casual game. I got into my first, probably last, Grand Melee on the Friday night, and like
so you did with Serge and Graham, right?
Yes, Serge and Graham. Yeah, Serge was sitting like one table next to me, like not right across from me, but I could see both of them. We were all within like 6 players, and there were about 40 players in this event. If you don't know what Grand Melee is, it's one huge game. So it's intended as like a giant circle, but you can just play it on regular rows of tables that you'll see at a convention, and you're sitting across from someone, but the person you're sitting across from is not your opponent. They are like somewhere way away from you in the circle. What matters are the people sitting next to you, because you only have a range of influence of 1, meaning if you cast like Wrath of God or Blood Moon, that only affects you and your 2 neighbors, and then your neighbor on your right is attacking you, and you're attacking your neighbor on your left. You can't attack your neighbor on your right or anyone else except your neighbor on your left. And so the way our game, and then we were playing sealed. So you can bring constructed or whatever, you can bring whatever deck construction rules to this Grand Melee format of playing the game. But we were playing 6 packs of Lord of the Rings sealed with no extra goofy pack. I don't think there was any collector booster or anything like that in it. It was just like a regular Lord of the Rings sealed. And it led to like a fair number of board stalls, because since you're not interacting with the person who's attacking you by killing them, you have to always kind of consider, oh, right, this is the one other important thing. You get tickets for eliminating a player, but you don't get any extra tickets for being the last player standing, although there's kind of like some high five moments. So you want to like kill or take out as many players as possible, like deal the last damage or make them mill out their last card. That was the other rule. Or, attack them with enough creatures usually. But if you fail at doing that, and then because you're tapped out now, someone else's creatures on your right, when the turn gets back around to the person on your right, they get to kill you. Then obviously you have to give out your tickets and you don't get a turn. So it made for like a pretty long game. Shocker, I know, 40 players in one game, playing for forever. Graham got taken out pretty early by someone with Frodo. So kudos to Graham. Surge managed to kill one person and then get killed pretty quickly by Sauron. I think Sauron killed, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the person on Surge's right was killed, had Sauron. And then, but Surge, to his credit, had Shelob, like the green, black, and 4 for an 8/8 that makes food tokens out of creatures that die. And so Surge was popping off and did get a kill. So it's like, if you can kind of, in this format with these rules, collect your event tickets and then get killed, like that's kind of a decent way to go through Grand Melee. I unfortunately had probably the worst story in regards to like how you're supposed to kind of min-max get the EV out of Grand Melee. My person on my left, I made 3 different kind of safe attacks against them where it'd be like, okay, I can tap some creatures to attack. I want to attack. And with what I've got left, it looks like I won't die at least next turn unless there's like, removal spell plus haste creature from the person on my right. And every time I did that, they had the removal spell. So it was just like, yeah, kill your flyer when you attack. And I was just like, okay, go. And then that kept happening. The late game wasn't any better. I just kept like drawing land after there was only like 16 players left. And I like wasn't dying to the person on my right. I did manage to kill one person with Mirkwood bats. So that was sweet. I got 1 kill after they had been like bullied down to 3 by their neighbor. And then I was like, okay, untap, sacrifice 3 foods. So that was nice for me. But then the person on my left that I could just never attack ends up being the last person standing. It got down to myself and 3 other players, and I'm sure a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them, had 2 or 3 or more kills. But then it's like I could never get through the wall that I had at the beginning of the game, which I don't think any of the other 3 people had. They had all like taken someone out to the left, so it's like I'm in whatever position it is of just like not exactly king making, but it was like it's like worse than king making, because you like could never like, it's like the sea turtle that couldn't make it to the ocean or something, Yeah. I could never quite get through that wall of sand. But still, overall, kind of a fun, interesting, different experience. I might try it again with Constructed, where we go into it knowing the rules. Although I think that might be
you can't punch the person who's punching you.
Well, you can lightning bolt them. You can cast spells against them, but you can't punch them. Yeah. It just makes for like, I think if everyone's trying to win, it just makes for like board stalls. Basically, vigilance is busted.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I do like that. If you make it to the end, you don't get anything extra, right? So like the incentive I feel like for people is to get the kills and stuff. So
for sure, yeah, I would play a version where the prize structure was different, because the prize structure in this game, like really. It determines like the deck building. It determines the play style, right?
Yeah.
It turns out the best thing for you to do was, if you could be kind of low to the ground and like double strike your way to victory, and then maybe be able to do that a second time like that. If you can just get 1 kill, like that's how you were supposed to kind of build your deck.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So Saturday we had the second signing block, which we've already talked about. Those were amazing, by the way. It was so nice to
so
finally meet people from that part of the world.
I was genuinely like curious, not worried, curious. I would say that like I was like, are people even going to know who we are? Like, are we going to like what is our sphere of influence here? And you know, is it worth it for them to send us out? And the answer is yes. Apparently, like I know that we have like a worldwide audience, which is incredible. But I just didn't realize it was to that extent, because every signing event that we did went to time. Like we from the moment we started signing to the moment like to the last person came, it was about 3 hours of signing, or 2.5 ish or so on, and that was incredible.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, we obviously we've been doing this for a really long time, and you can look at your metrics and that there are people from the UK watching us, and there's people from Germany watching us, and there's people from Spain watching us, and Portugal and all this, and we've never until now been able to actually like make the journey out to Europe to actually finally see everybody. And it was really neat to finally get to see, especially so many people who have just been fans of us and in the community for years and years and years. Got to see some faces of people who I've known in chat or on the forums for over a decade. So that was really special. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you that if they do more of these in the future, if they keep going back to Europe or maybe even different parts of the world, we'll definitely be there, because it was really neat.
Had a lot of like very respectful people. Like not to imply it's not that it's like a huge difference or anything, but it was just like we didn't have any like problem people or anything like that, like people who just like, what the term that we termed like booth barnacles as they're called, who will just like sort of be there. Like everyone was like, thank you very much for your time, was incredibly friendly and stuff like that. Like it was great. Everyone was awesome.
We watched y'all act respectfully to each other, so that was fantastic. And we acknowledge that some of you waited in that line for a really long time.
We talk a lot. The the people at
the two women who were they're like, how did you do that? Like, how do you sit here for 2 hours and just talk?
Yeah, we were just like, that's the job.
That's what we do.
That's what we do for a living.
We sure like talking a lot.
They're like, you're so nice, and we're like, we're from Canada, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. So
we had the signing block, and then Saturday evening was busy. We had our event. So Loading Ready Run Chaos Draft thing was scheduled for our 7 to 10. Not the most ideal time. I was hoping that it was going to be earlier in the day, but regardless of that, we won't get into that. So I show up at 6:30, and we're like, okay, this thing has been sold to people as Loading Ready Run Chaos Grand Melee. And we've already gone over what a Grand Melee was, because that was also what was supposed to happen in Philly, which is when we did this for the first time.
I didn't mention, but that took 4 hours. That was my Friday night for like later. I didn't get to go to dinner with everybody. Friday night.
So it's marked as a 60 or just as a Grand Melee. And the idea when we went to Philly was it would be one of us at every table of 16. And then after the mega draft, because it was also a mega draft, so 6 packs, we've already gone through this, we would play a Grand Melee game between the 16 people. But in Philly, we were like, let's not do that. It's too much. Let's just play random pairings, basically. Like, let's put everybody in this event into one pod and just do normal, pair everybody up, and then go report your win or loss, and then round 2 after everybody's done. And so we were going to just do that again. But even that in Philly took a while. So I met up with the judges at 6:30 to be like, okay, we have a party that we have to go to. Like we are meant to be going. We are meant to be going to this party. It's part of the contract. We're supposed to show up. It starts at 10. We don't need to be there at 10. I don't want to be there at 10. I'm a cool person. I don't want to show up at a party on time. Who do I look like? Voxy?
Voxy?
And so So
I can answer that. No, actually, don't
Yeah.
look like Voxy.
So I'm like, if we can get out of here by 10:30, that would kind of be ideal. And that's exactly where we got. But it was we weren't even done yet. And I know people were not angry, but kind of bummed that we had to leave early, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But so what we ended up doing, and I legitimately love what we decided to do here. So we had about 70 people in the event, including the 5 of us. It was the 3 of us, Serge and Kathleen. Graham was with Penelope that night, so he wasn't able to join us. So we had about 70 people, and we sat down in pods of 16, and there was one pod of like 9 or 10 because we didn't have quite enough people to fill one additional pod of 16. And it was going to be a mega draft. We're like, mega drafts take too long. Let's not do that. How about instead, you open your 6 packs. They come in a little Ziploc bag. You get 6 random packs. How about instead of a mega draft, you choose which 3 of the packs you want to draft. And then once that normal 16-player 3-pack draft is done, take the remaining 3 packs, open them up, add them to your pool. So it's like kind of this weird hybrid draft sealed experience. I genuinely actually loved it. And to be honest, if we do this again in Vegas in a couple months, I'm probably going to try to do this again, but not going in with a little bit more info and not just making it up on the spot half an hour before the event. So we do the draft and it goes really well. And I'm texting with my contact at WotC during the draft. And I was like, hey, I don't know if you're still on site. WotC, by the way, incredibly generous with product that they give us at these events to basically just hand out for free to people. Anybody who we want, throw them a pack of whatever. It could be as random as a set booster from Phyrexial, could be one. It could be a collector booster from Commander Masters. It could be an entire Commander pre-con deck. Like they give us
basically mascots at like a festival. Like,
welcome
to MagicCon. Here, have a
So,
pack. And
If you hit me with a sword, I bleed secret layers at
exactly.
So it turns out.
So they gave us a giant box of stuff that we gave out throughout the weekend. But I was like, okay, what if I can get everybody another pack of cards that I can kind of go around and give everybody in this event to during the sealed portion.
Great
when
one,
I know
Paul.
everybody is where I know everybody's seated and I can actually interact with them all. So I emailed my guy's Toby, great guy. Thank you, Toby. I said, hey, we're in this unknown, or we're in the Loading Ready Run Chaos event. Is there any way you can bring me down about 60 packs of whatever is easiest for you to get? I don't care what it was, just get me whatever you can get. And he's like, not a problem. I'm upstairs. I'll be down in 5 minutes. So he comes down during the draft and hands me a box, this big. It's not a gigantic box. And I open it up and he has gotten for me 4 collector booster boxes, the 12-pack collector booster boxes of there was Lord of the Rings, there was a Phyrexial, could be one, there was something else, there's 2 other things, and then there was the Commander Masters collector booster box, which only comes with 4. And I did the math really quick, and I was like, I'm actually close enough that if I can get 15 more packs, or I think it was 12 more packs, so 1 more box, I can actually give everybody in this event a collector booster. So I went up to the folks at Pastime, who is the TO for MagicCons, and I said, hey, is there any way that you can get me just 12 of any collector booster? I don't care what it is. Just if you can get me 12, that would be amazing. Toby had already left. I wasn't going to get him to bring me more. And so Pastime came in clutch as well. Got me a dozen D&D Forgotten Realms collector booster packs. And now I had this box full of 60 some odd collector booster packs. And I just ran down the aisles during sealed draft deck build. And I gave every single person, except for us.
We're not people.
Now hold on.
Yeah.
Everyone got an extra booster pack.
Yeah. I was in the first row.
Except for the people at Loading Ready Run.
Yeah. James actually handed me one and then went, oh, not you. It was like he didn't recognize me for a second. It was like, oh, here, that's a Magic player. You get one. And it's like, James, oh, wait, that's Nelson. Takes it on my hand.
I don't know if that's better, Nelson, or if what I got, which was a middle finger from
well, so
which is the better reaction?
I legitimately gave Nelson his, and I was like, wait, I actually don't think I have enough for us. I don't think I have enough for all 5 of us. So hold on, I'll come back to you. And it turns out I had exactly enough +1. And there was a couple who was playing in the event, and Dad was off with the baby, sitting right next to his wife, watching the baby as she was playing in it. And I was like, all right, well then you get a collector booster as well. That's where that last
you
pack
gotta
went.
sit through this.
Yeah. But it was, and I would, and it's a chaos event, so I was like, add it to your pool. Like, just open it up, add it to your pool. This is fine. We don't care. We're just here to have fun. The other thing that we had sort of come up with at the time to try to make sure that this thing wasn't going to go really late was we were just going to play best of one. 30-minute best of one rounds. If your game ends quickly, just keep playing, right? Like, don't get up and walk away. Like, just hang out and chat and play with these people, right? Like, we're all part of the same community. You have one thing in common. You have two things in common. You like Loading Ready Run and you like Magic. That's not a bad person to have to sit across from for 30 minutes, right? So just hang out and have fun and play the game. And I think genuinely people really liked it, even though, again, it was a little bit of a change to what maybe they were expecting. But in reality, if we had done what we did plus best of 3 rounds, we would have been there for 5 or 6 hours.
Oh yeah, it's so long.
And like, and one thing that I'm really hoping that we can take to MagicCon Vegas and MagicCons in 2024 is I want to
Which
expand.
I guess if you're listening to this, is that like your pseudo way of being like Loading Ready Run will be there in a capacity
at where? Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah.
Oh, we've already said we're at Vegas.
We've already said
we have an announcement. Okay.
Yeah. Wait, I haven't said who's going.
Sure.
But we've already said that we're going to all of these this year.
Right. Okay.
The 3 of us will be there, and some other people.
go.
There you go. So yeah, one thing I would love to do at the future events is expand it. Don't just limit it, because we've been limiting it to 5 pods of 16 because that's how many people are in it. I would rather just be like, just open it up to as many people who want to join. We're still there. We're still part of the event.
And still talking to people and hanging out.
Yeah, exactly. But also borrow from Gavin's event, which we can talk about right after this because it's the one thing that we did on Sunday. He runs his event, the Unknown event, with rolling pairings, which means when you win or lose your game, you just mark it on a little sheet. You walk up to the judge, and they will just instantly pair you with somebody else who's just waiting. Like, obviously, you're not going to get paired with the same person that you just played, but you're just going to get paired randomly with somebody else. And I would really like to get our event to that. Like, I would love to do exactly what we did, maybe a few tweaks. And I mean, hopefully still with the random collector boosters, but that's going to depend on, the support that we can get from WotC and Pastime. I would love to basically just open it up to like 200 people, and we do that wacky sealed draft thing again. But instead of, computerized pairings, it's just rolling pairings, and we're just having fun and we're playing games. And maybe it is just best of one, but maybe we do 4 rounds. So there's still a little bit more magic. I don't know. Our event ended up taking about 4 hours to complete. I think people were wrapped up at around 11. We all had to take off at like 10:30 to get to that party, which I guess we can talk about. That party was absurd.
Yeah.
Y'all have fun at DJ Frodo?
Oh man,
Too much fun, actually. The 2 of us,
dude. I feel like we could do an entire podcast about the party of DJ Frodo. But I mean, like, how much do you want to get into depth about it?
We don't need to get into too deep on this one. So the party,
was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah. If I just want to say, if I met you at the DJ Frodo party,
I'm sorry.
and now next time you see me, there's nothing there. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Straight up,
you're great.
Yeah,
it's not you.
This was the first party that. So typically, in the past ones that have happened, I got faced for a different reason at this one. Usually it's because we have so many non-drinker friends and they just start giving me their tickets. So I'm like, well, I feel bad about not using mine. This one, the WotC employees just kept handing them out.
Yeah.
They're like, here, you look thirsty. You look thirsty. You look thirsty. And I was just like, okay, I'll keep going.
The story here is, if you didn't know, Elijah Wood kind of dabbles in the world of spinning vinyl. And he does it with a buddy of his. I can't remember his name, but together they are Wooden Wisdom. Right. is the name of the pair of them. And so, long story short, they're going to DJ this party.
Yes.
And so party starts at 10. They go on at 11:30. They DJ till I think 1 a.m. and then the normal DJ comes back out, closes out the night. And I don't think anybody knew what to expect from the set with Elijah Wood and his DJ buddy. But it was I loved every second of it. I thought it was so freaking cool. 98% of the people there were probably just like, what is going on? Like they were playing just really like different music. They were not playing like top 40.
It was it was not party music.
It wasn't really party music.
No.
Like it was world music. There was Afrobeat. There was jazz. There was what else was there, Nelly? There was a bunch of stuff going on.
Yeah, I didn't recognize a lot of it, but like there was definitely some sort of like Turkish jazz. Like it was all like a lot of rhythmic stuff. Like we were dancing. We were still dancing, but it wasn't like club hits from today.
It threw people off, I think. That and that was the thing is like, you know, I was hanging out with Sam, Ristic Studies, and their partner, and we were like, this rules. This was not what I was like thinking was gonna happen. And like I want to, like, if I could listen to this set on my way home or something, like on the bus or whatever, like I would be super into it. That is not what I thought this was going to be. I think it was also just like a venue discrepancy, like because the venue looked like if there was a movie about people going on spring break, and you know, if there was but like any movie about that, like you can probably imagine what this club looked like, right? Like it was outdoors, and had like, you know, neon lights and multiple floors and all that kind of jazz. And
there was a pool on the dance floor.
Yes, that you couldn't actually go into. It was sealed. Like there,
it was well barricaded, so no one fell in. But like it was right behind the bar.
I would have loved to be in the pool.
Oh man, that would have been great.
Yeah, it was very hot, but it was genuinely neat. It was just, I don't know. It was so funny. It was so funny.
It was really good. I had a blast. I think all three of us got a little inebriated.
There were a lot of free drink tickets. Yeah,
there were.
I think I stayed up till about 5 a.m. then.
Yeah, I was up till about 4 just eating bread to make sure that
you had the biggest brain plate. You just had a bunch of bread and water and sat for like 3 hours when we got back, just chomping on it.
It's with so age come wisdom, my friend. Now you've learned.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You know, when we go to Vegas, because I'm sure the same damn thing happen. I'm gonna hit up a bakery on the Thursday that we're there.
This was the first Magic party I'd ever been to that didn't give us food. Like I've been to several, you know, Sunday night judge parties or whatever after a Grand Prix, and like the similar things in Minneapolis, and like parties at the end of Magic Fest. And like whenever Wizards hosts a party, they almost always have like at least a table with snacks.
Yes.
And because of our Chaos Draft Plus sealed straight into like, oh shoot, we gotta go, everyone jump in a cab moment. I didn't have any dinner, because remember, from the beginning of the podcast, you can't get dinner until after 7 in Spain, right? Also that day was just like loaded with the signing and the various events. So then we just drank for dinner on Saturday night, and I was like too tired and like out of it by the time we cab ride home to think like, oh, I need to find food before I sleep. But I wish I had like, you know, told James like, no, we're not going to the hotel, we're going to Sloppy Donaires right now. You know, like it was I thought that
Sloppy Donaires will be Magic Fest Edmonton.
Okay. Sounds like a good time.
And then Sunday, we're already at like over an hour here, so we should keep things moving here. Okay. On Sunday, we all played in Gavin Verhey's Unknown event, which again is something that all three of us here have done before. It's always a lot of fun. And basically, if you haven't done it and you haven't heard of it and you're curious, it's almost always a sealed environment with 6 packs like you normally would. But then you also get 10 playtest cards that Gavin has specifically designed for this event. He makes about 60 playtest cards for the event. They sticker them up just like you would see a playtest card in at WotC when they're playtesting for the new set. And you just get to add them to the thing, and they are almost always extremely random and very silly. And I actually meant to grab. What did you guys get? Hold on, let me grab them so I can read a few off.
I can remember a few too.
Yeah, I've got a couple off the top of my head. I think probably the one that, so I guess we should mention as well, this was the first time that, I guess because this was kind of like Lord of the Rings / Commander Masters MagicCon.
Yeah.
This was a 1v1 commander environment. So you were kind of like playing Brawl. You had 30 life and you had to make a 60 card commander deck, and you played 1v1 versus somebody. So that was kind of the main difference than the past ones. Usually it's just sort of been 40 cards sealed.
Right. It was like Brawl sealed. I'm only just realizing now that's a good way of describing it.
It's basically Brawl. And then the one though that got me that I was like, I just kind of want this to be a real card is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's 1 in a blue and it's a negate. It's counter target non-creature spell. However, if your opponent casts a Soul Ring spell, you may cast this from your deck for free.
Love that.
That's amazing.
If you've got it in your deck, you can counter somebody's Soul Ring for free in Commander. And
was it called like soft ban?
So or something like that. Yeah. It was. I didn't even end up playing it. I thought it was so funny.
So for anybody watching, you can see that this is what the cards kind of look like. They're just stickered onto the back of a normal Magic card. This was my favorite that I opened. 3 in a red for my deck is about a 7. It's an instant. Choose a number between 6 and 8. My deck is about a 7, deals that much damage to target creature.
Awesome. I saw several people playing potatoes.
Nice.
This was a 0 mana artifact that just has pay 2, tap, and sacrifice. Choose 1. Make 2 food tokens, or gain 3 life and draw a card. So like a super food token, or an expensive 2 foods, or deal 1 damage to target creature. And it was
the boil,
boil, deal a damage, mash, like make 2 food tokens, or stew, draw the card and gain 3 life. I guess stew rhymes with
in a stew.
Nice. Yeah. Did you see Form of the Stacks player?
No,
I heard it. I heard someone reading it.
It is a 5 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of one of the following: Aven Mind Sensor, Dranith Magistrate, Ghostly Prison, Hushbringer, Smokestack, or Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. There are 6 of them, so easy way to select one is to roll a d6. When Form of Stacks player leaves the battlefield, sacrifice each token created with it.
That's wild. That's messed up.
Yeah.
But speaking of messed up, so I did terribly in this format. I think I set the record as the fastest person to go 0-3.
Nice.
In this. Turns out Nekazar is incredibly mid in 1v1 heads up.
1v1,
you're just giving 2 cards a turn to the person who's beating the crap out of you. But my second round opponent, so much like Commander Masters, if you had a mono-colored legendary, it has partner. So you could have 2. So my second round opponent had Eomer from Lord of the Rings, which is a 4/4/4 with haste. And whenever a creature that is attacking that you control dies, you can untap and do another combat step. And then their partner was a test card that was 2 and a green for a 2/2 with horsemanship. This card also gives all commanders you control horsemanship. So that was brutal in and of itself.
Yeah.
Because if I killed anything that was like an attack or whatever, they would just get to attack again with horsemanship. But also they had an enchantment that tripled commander damage that you take. So their commander only had to essentially hit me like 2 or 3 times, and I just lost instantly. So they had the nutter butter of wombo combos there that really ended up goozling me.
I also used horsemanship. I had a Sun Quan, which of course has partner in this format. That's 4 blue for a 4/4 from Portal 3 Kingdoms that just says all your creatures have horsemanship. So pretty strong. And then I partnered it with Rampant, Growth, which is a playtest card that was 1 in a green for sorcery. Search your library for a basic land, put it in tapped, and this can be your commander. So I imagine if anyone from the Oathbreaker team is either, you know, watching this or heard reports or was at the MagicCon, they probably feel pretty great about themselves.
They're thinking,
the same kind of design space that like Gavin's been inspired by to make the set. Because
James, who I was sitting beside, had one of these too.
Lava, axe. So it's a sorcery spell commander. And then lava, axe deals 5 damage to target player or planeswalker. So it's good. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it. I think the funniest interaction I saw was one of the test cards was a conspiracy. That both you and your opponent play with your commanders face down, so you have to not tell each other what they are.
Did Serge have that one? I think maybe Serge.
Yes, Serge did. In fact, it was Serge who had this interaction.
Right.
So you couldn't reveal who your commanders are to each other. That was what this conspiracy essentially did, and you didn't get to know what it was. The issue with that, though, is the way that it interacts with Command Tower. Is Command Tower literally did not tap for mana.
Oh no! Like the judge came over and said that.
Because you don't know what colors they are, right? So by the rules of it, Command Tower literally did nothing until you resolved your commander at another time. It was a dead land.
Brutal.
But that's the thing, right? It has the same interaction as if you threw a Command Tower in a colorless deck, which is it will also not tap for anything because it adds color. And colorless is not a color. So in case, just on the off chance, maybe, you know, you've accidentally thrown Command Tower in your Kozilek deck, you should take it out.
Yeah, that's not good.
Doesn't work that way.
Can't do it. Yeah. So yeah, that was the only event that we were in on Sunday. And then, I mean, Sunday night was just chill hangouts and dinner and LobbyCon and at a lovely dinner with Spice 8, who I'd never met before, and what a genuinely incredible human being.
Yeah, they're
just
great.
So cool.
Yeah.
I just the most wild dinner with them and Jacob Bergstrom and Peyton List. It was surreal. It's a very odd dinner, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, definitely we'll keep that one in the old memory banks for a while because that was a fun night. And then we all left Monday, right?
Yeah, well, the three of us got in a cab together Monday with Tim Willoughby, and got on our various flights home.
How were your flights?
Our flights were really comfortable, James.
James, I feel like you've given me heroin for the first time.
So Beej and I booked these 2 flights. Beej and I booked Nelson, Ben, and Serge's flight weeks ago. And when we were booking these 2 specifically for on the way home, we noticed that it was the same price. It actually might have been like $20 cheaper to give them business class. So we did, and we didn't tell them. And they found out just a few days before the
night before we checked in.
Yeah,
just when we checked in.
And you have fun in your comfy pods, living it up like the 1% you are.
I am so angry that they exist, but I am so glad they did for the way back because, like, oh my god, it's genuine. The pods are incredible. Like straight up, like we got a 4-course meal. That came over the course of it, like fancy salmon salad into an actual steak that I had, into a plethora of cheeses and salad, into a chocolate cake. Like it was wild.
It was like a fancy chocolate cookie ganache.
Too, I thought it was like a macaron.
Oh yeah, maybe it was a macaron. Yeah. But like the inside was gooey. Yeah, macarons normally are like a little harder.
Me back in a different flight and in premium economy where all the plebs were sitting. You know, I also had that. That thing was delicious.
Yeah, nice.
The dinner was not as good as what it sounded like you had, but I had exactly that same dessert and it was delicious.
Well, same airline on the way over. It was like
we were Air Canada all the way.
Yeah, Toronto to Barcelona was just like chicken or fish, chicken or pasta, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you want the chicken or noodles? And she's just like asking really quickly, and she goes past all of us. And like, I don't think either were the right answer.
Yeah,
yeah, for me too. Like, so I got the beef for it, obviously, and when they came though for the first thing with the salmon salad-y thing, like they just put down in front of you, I turned and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I think I ordered the beef. I can have the fish though. Like that's totally fine." And she was like, "Oh, honey, that's just the appetizer." And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "Enjoy, sweetie," and like walked away. And I was like, so I think it was very clear that I had no goddamn idea what I was doing up there.
Yeah.
Like, oh god, like I looked so out of my element.
I couldn't find like where the like TV control was or how to change the seat. So I just straight up told the flight attendant that we were in like different sections. So it's a different flight attendant. But I was like, this is my first time in business class. And like, I kind of don't know what I'm doing. Can I get some tips and tricks?
Nice.
Like, I was
Yeah.
looking for the gear icon on this whole experience to be like, how to tutorial.
Help section, please.
Yeah.
I will say low light. First getting on that flight because they want to load you first. You're near the nose of the plane, so it's like by zones, right? So I sit down. I'm in the very last row of business class before it switches to economy, and there's no wall, or there's a wall, and like the pane in the middle is open during takeoff and landing, I guess, for safety or whatever. And they did like close it and seal us off from the proletariat behind us. Eventually, but at first it's like it's just open, and so I like turn at some point and look around, and there's like a judge that I've met from Ontario right there, and she doesn't look like she's in the best mood, and I couldn't tell if she saw me or not, but like that plus just like before that, like every other person on the plane having to walk like right past me as I'm just like sitting here like trying to like stare into space like the class traitor that I feel that I am, like just getting just
you're the reason that all of our seats are uncomfortable.
It was like all of King's Landing throwing bricks at me and yelling shame as they walk past me. So that was incredible.
I was on so like because you get on the plane, you turn right, and then it's one section of business, and then or you go left and there's a business section. I got to be left, so I didn't even get to see the plebeians at any point on flight.
I was a middle class between Ben and the rest of the
I was in
slightly worse
mother.
Oh my god.
But the highlight probably is like the plane lands and you realize like, oh, we just spent 9 hours on this thing crossing continents, and like I'm so comfortable I don't even really want to get up.
I've never been on a plane and looked at like the thing that's like showing you how long is left in the flight, and it's like there's 3 hours left, and I'm like, no, I don't want to leave. It's like, let me stay. But on the second flight, we didn't have the pods because there's no way in hell, because we went straight from Toronto to Victoria, and there's no way in hell a plane of that size can land in Victoria. So you had kind of like the middle-sized one. So like the fancy business seats is basically Econ Plus, or whatever on this one. And straight up, I feel like that's just what all seats should be like on planes. Like that is like it was. They were large enough that I felt comfortable. And like I could do we did our 4.5 hour flight with like no issues really, but not so ostentatious that only 6 people can be vertical on a third of the plane, kind of a thing, like, or horizontal, I should say. And I would love I think I might try and just spring for just that at minimum, but God, man, I feel like you did like a first hit is free.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Me, and I'm looking forward to my next flight.
I'm so mad. I'm going to Toronto next month to visit my mom, and I'm just in a regular seat, and I know I'm gonna hate it now. I'm being so grumpy by the time I get there.
Oh man, that's good.
I should have just stayed in Toronto. I shouldn't have even left.
You should have just left the airport.
Yeah, I'm going on vacation in like 3 weeks or whatever. I shouldn't have come back.
Don't say that loud enough that Remy can hear you.
Yeah, it's true. All right, I just really want to quickly. I did ask our community. There was a little conversation in the Discord, the Loading Ready Run Discord, discord.gg/LRR, if you would like to join. And I asked if anybody had any thoughts or opinions. I asked it rather last minute. Only one person has gotten back to me, but I thought I'd read out what they said about how they felt like their experience went. So this is Zador in Discord, who says, I quite enjoyed my time there. I'm extremely biased in regards to prices, seeing how the cards I opened was gifted pretty much equaled what I paid for my entire trip. I mean, honestly, a show where you're playing a lot of Commander Masters, there is definitely a lot of value to be had and to recuperate, which you could absolutely take into consideration when you are planning your trip. You know, Vegas in a few months, that's going to be more Wilds of Eldraine themed, which is probably a lot less EV. So that's something to think about. The lure event was great, but you guys having to leave early to get to the party was bad planning. We did mention that. I agree. Yep. I've mentioned this in the feedback I gave to WotC too. I appreciate that. In general, there was a lot of stuff that seemed to be planned for American circumstances, not European ones, like the party being an hour from the venue by public transit. I agree.
That was rough.
That was a bit rough. And also the breakfast in the Black Lotus Lounge, apparently, as well. Because they definitely did a very North American based breakfast thing in that lounge. It was like little boxes of cereal, pastries, coffee. And I don't know if they messaged out well enough that it was even there. Again, there's always been issues.
It was pretty dead most of the time.
The Black Lotus Lounge was not nearly as busy as the
well, so there was a lot less Black Lotus VIPs at this one.
Oh, okay.
And I think they were just out on the show floor. I think Wizards and ReedPop need to find a happy medium for the Black Lotus Lounge, and they need to realize that this is never going to be a place where anybody wants to spend the majority of their time.
Yeah.
But they need to make it so that people want to spend 20, like they want to make it a destination for these people to come back to.
I wonder
a couple times throughout the show to just relax, rest, recharge, maybe charge up their phone a little bit, grab a snack, a coffee. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I wonder if there is legs in having it, you know, like how Twitch used to, you know, do at PAX, where they had like a booth that was actually on the floor where you could just like sit down and like they had like little food.
Yeah.
Things and drinks and stuff like that. That was just like, I mean, obviously, again, you know, now that I've been in business class and I'm used to being in a segregated area. But yeah, like I think doing something that's not so far removed from it is not a bad idea.
Yes, that's another thing for sure. It was a bit of a trek.
Yeah, so it's like you could, I mean, maybe just do two. Like if you want, have like because they also had just a quiet room that was across from the Black Lotus Lounge too. And I think having those kind of rooms is absolutely very important to have at, you know, big cons like these, a place where you can go where it's not just like super loud.
Yep.
But I think people would be really interested in going, if like in the Black Lotus thing, if there was just like a nice, if there's an area actually on the con floor that just had a place where you could sit down and have a coffee or whatever, and people would hang out in there. I think a lot more than.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree. So they go on to say, as for the actual event, this was my first MagicCon, but I was really happy with how things worked out. Had a lot of fun playing, learned not to overload my schedule for next time. That's a good thing to learn.
Yeah.
And leave more time for on-demand events. But that's my personal learning curve. I'll definitely go again and try to bring some of my play group along with me. I also really enjoyed the chance to chat to every notable that was there. I didn't catch many of the panels, but those I did were good. I was baffled, however, that there was no way to watch the Pro Tour except for Sunday afternoon. Would have expected some screenings showing the streams at least.
Yep. So there was
one. Yeah,
there was one. It was a small little screen over by the vendor kind of area where people were also able to.
Well, there was some co-streaming
where the
pods
were happening, right?
Yeah. So there was like 6 different co-streams in different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was over there. It was not very visible.
But,
and
and there was only there wasn't seats in front of it. There was a screen there, right? And about 8 people could stand in front of it before a judge would have to like disperse the crowd because it was just in an aisle.
Yeah,
right? Like,
it continues to be. I mean, that has been I think one of the number one things that we've talked about at like every one of these is it's still. The Pro Tour is not. You can't really watch it at this con.
Yeah, they're still trying to find the best way to make it feel like both are a part of each other and not separate, but at the same event. And I don't blame them for not nailing it yet, but I'm hoping that they can keep innovating and learning and trying to find a way to make that work, because I agree that that's a big thing.
Yeah.
All right, we've talked for a very long time. TLDR, I mean, Barcelona was incredible. I cannot wait to go back. I cannot wait for there to be more European events that we can go to. I continue to love this game, and being able to go to these things is incredible. And thank you to Wizards of the Coast and ReedPop for having us out as always, and looking forward to Vegas. So
yeah. I would rank this one in terms of like So I think Minneapolis is still the best one I've been to. I think they really nailed Minneapolis
for the con
portion itself. This was definitely one of the coolest convention experiences. Like in like with the city and like all that kind of jazz. Like this is, I mean, maybe it's just because I've never been to Europe before and stuff, but this was definitely like one of the coolest experiences I think I've had at a convention.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for hanging out today. We really do appreciate it. Want to give a quick shout out again to Card Kingdom. cardkingdom.com/LRR. They are the sponsor of the show. We love them. We use them. We think you should too. I have been informed by Paul that I think I am just Dan here is not, in fact, the button, as I mentioned at the start of the show. And in fact, it is time for a Pack 3 pivot. So get your orders in. I don't know when that one went live, probably fairly recently. So there's probably a decent number left, but head over to cardkingdom.com/LRR. Order yourself some Commander Masters. Or God, at this rate, Wilds of Eldraine will be up for pre-sale probably pretty soon too. God, there's a lot of Magic cards. And of course, thanks to everybody over at our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. We couldn't do any of this without you. We super appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode on time and back in the studio. So look forward to that. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you then. Bye.
loadingreadyrun.com.